There is a habit that almost every household shares. Every morning, you open the fridge, take out a bottle of juice, pour it into a glass, and believe you just did something good for your body. Not because you are careless, but because you have trusted that idea for a very long time. Since childhood, juice has been presented as a symbol of health. Fruit is pressed, liquid comes out, you drink it and get vitamins. Simple, logical, no reason to question it. But the issue is not the fruit. The issue is that juice today no longer follows that natural path. Over the past few decades, juice has changed dramatically, while consumer habits have stayed the same. We still look at a bottle of juice and imagine fresh oranges or apples being squeezed moments ago. In reality, what sits in your fridge may have gone through a long, industrial journey that looks nothing like that image. It is important to be clear from the beginning. This video is not saying that juice is bad. It is not attacking any brand. This is about how a familiar habit has been reshaped by processing, convenience, and market expectations. Fresh juice is extremely fragile. Once fruit is pressed, change begins almost immediately. Flavor shifts, nutrients decline, natural microorganisms become active. Within a few days, real juice is no longer drinkable. That fragility creates a major problem for the food industry, because consumers do not buy juice to drink within 2 days. They buy it to store in the fridge. They expect it to last for weeks. They want it to taste the same every time, regardless of season or harvest. To meet those expectations, juice has to be processed, not lightly processed. Heavily processed, water may be removed, oxygen may be stripped out to slow spoilage. Natural flavor may disappear during that process, and once flavor is gone, it has to be added back in other ways. As a result, many juices today are no longer simply fruit turned into liquid. They are products that have been taken apart, stored, and reassembled to look and taste like juice. The problem is that this happens quietly. There are no warning signs. Nothing feels obviously wrong. The labels still look familiar. Fresh fruit images, natural-sounding words, messages that consumers have trusted for decades. So many people continue believing they are drinking something close to fresh fruit, when in reality, they are consuming a reconstructed product designed to survive storage, transport, and national distribution. In the next 15 minutes, you will not be told to quit drinking juice. You will not be asked to fear what is in your fridge. Instead, you will gain clarity. You will understand why so many juices taste exactly the same all year, why their shelf life is unusually long, and why some juices behave more like industrial products than fresh food. Most importantly, by the end of this video, you will have one simple rule. A rule you can use instantly in the grocery store, standing in front of the juice aisle, without reading long ingredient lists. Not to panic, but to choose more consciously, because once you understand how juice is actually made, you will never look at that bottle in your fridge the same way again. And that is where real change begins. Before we look at specific products, you need a simple way to think about juice. Not brands, not labels, not marketing language, just a framework you can reuse anywhere. Because the bottled juice aisle looks overwhelming, but it actually follows a few very predictable patterns. Once you see those patterns, most of the confusion disappears. There are 3 rules that explain almost everything you are about to see. These rules apply across brands, price points, and marketing styles. They are not opinions, they are how the system works. Rule 1 is about processing. Rule 1. The more a juice is processed, the further it moves away from real fruit. Fresh fruit juice is unstable by nature. It changes quickly. It spoils quickly. It separates. It tastes different from batch to batch. That instability is exactly what large-scale distribution cannot tolerate. So when juice needs to last weeks or months, steps are added. Heating, filtering, oxygen removal, concentration, stabilization. Each step solves a business problem, but each step also removes something from the original fruit. Sometimes that is texture, sometimes aroma, sometimes natural variation. The key idea is simple. Processing does not make juice fake, but every layer of processing moves it further away from what you would get by pressing fruit at home. Rule 2 is about consistency. Rule 2. Perfect consistency is a sign of engineering, not nature. Fruit is seasonal. Oranges in January are not the same as oranges in August. Apples from one region taste different from apples grown somewhere else. Real juice reflects that variation. When a juice tastes identical all year long, something had to be adjusted. Juice from different harvests is blended together. Sweetness is controlled. Acidity is corrected. Flavor is standardized. This is not done to deceive. It is done because consumers expect the same taste every time they buy a product. But that expectation comes at a cost. Consistency replaces seasonality. Uniform flavor replaces natural variation. Once you recognize this, shelf life and taste stability stop looking like signs of quality. They start looking like signs of control. Rule 3 is about convenience. Rule 3. Convenience always trades freshness for stability. Bottled juice is convenient. You buy it once, you store it. You drink it whenever you want. Fresh juice does not work that way. It requires timing. It requires effort. It requires acceptance that it will spoil. To remove inconvenience, juice must be transformed into something that behaves predictably. That means killing bacteria, slowing chemical reactions, preventing separation, preventing fermentation. None of this is inherently wrong, but it changes what the product is. Convenience turns a living food into a managed product. Once you understand these 3 rules together, the juice aisle becomes much simpler. Processing explains how far the product has traveled from fruit. Consistency explains how much it has been engineered. Convenience explains why those changes happened in the first place. From this point on, every product we discuss will connect back to at least one of these rules. Sometimes all 3. You do not need to remember technical terms. You do not need to memorize ingredients. Just remember this. If a juice lasts a long time, tastes the same all year, and fits easily into your routine, it likely achieved that by moving away from fresh fruit behavior. That does not mean you must avoid it completely. It means you should understand what you are choosing. In the next section, we will apply this framework to some of the most familiar juices in America, not to accuse them, but to show exactly how these rules appear in real products, sitting in real refrigerators, just like yours. Now that you have the framework, we can start applying it to real products. Not to shame anyone for buying them, but to show how the system works in practice. We are starting with the juices that feel the most familiar, the ones many people grew up with, the ones that feel almost unquestionable. These products did not become popular by accident. They solved real problems. They made juice affordable, accessible, and consistent. But they also represent the clearest examples of how juice moved away from fruit. Let's begin with a brand that has been in American refrigerators for generations. Minute Maid has been around since the 1942. For many families, it was the definition of orange juice. Reliable, affordable, always available. The core of the Minute Maid business model is juice concentrate. Here is how that works in simple terms. Oranges are squeezed. Then the juice is heated to remove most of the water. What remains is a thick concentrate that can be frozen and stored for months, sometimes longer. When it is time to sell juice, water is added back in. The liquid is packaged, and it is sold as orange juice. This process solves several problems at once. It reduces shipping weight. It allows long-term storage. It stabilizes supply across seasons. But it also triggers Rule 1. Heating juice damages delicate flavor compounds. The natural aroma of fresh oranges does not survive that process intact. So what happens next is critical. Flavor has to be added back. Not sugar, not artificial colors, but orange-derived flavor compounds created by flavor specialists. These flavor blends are designed to make reassembled juice taste like what consumers expect orange juice to taste like. This is why Minute Maid tastes the same in January and July. It is not seasonal juice. It is engineered consistency. That consistency is not a coincidence. It is the tell. Real orange juice changes with the harvest. Concentrate-based juice does not. This does not make Minute Maid fake, but it does mean you are not drinking juice that behaves like fresh fruit. You are drinking juice that has been disassembled and rebuilt. Now, let's move to a product that many people switch to, specifically to avoid concentrate. Simply Orange. On the carton, the phrase, "not from concentrate," stands out clearly. For many shoppers, that line signals freshness. Technically, that claim is accurate. Water is not removed and added back, but the process still involves disassembly. Simply Orange uses a method called oxygen removal. After oranges are squeezed, oxygen is stripped from the juice. Without oxygen, spoilage slows dramatically. That allows the juice to be stored in massive tanks for months, sometimes close to a year. Here is the key point. Oxygen does not leave alone. Many of the compounds that give orange juice its fresh aroma are volatile. They escape along with the oxygen. What remains is juice that is stable but largely flavorless. So once again, flavor has to be added back. These flavor blends come from orange oils and essences. They are derived from oranges, so they do not need to be listed as added ingredients. Legally, this is still orange juice. Functionally, it has been taken apart and reassembled in a different way. The result is a product that tastes exactly the same month after month. That sameness is not natural. It is controlled. Simply orange represents a more subtle form of processing than concentrate. But it still fits Rule 2. Perfect consistency means intervention. Now, let's look at a product positioned as premium. Tropicana Pure Premium. The name suggests minimal handling. The branding suggests fresh fruit and morning sunshine. The reality is highly controlled juice production. Tropicana uses large-scale storage and blending systems. Juice from different regions and harvests is combined. Sweetness and acidity are adjusted. Pulp levels are standardized. In some cases, juice components are separated and recombined to meet exact specifications. The goal is precision. Every bottle should taste the same. Every time, anywhere in the country. That level of control requires extensive processing. Again, this is not deception. It is logistics. But it does mean that what you are drinking is optimized for consistency, not for behaving like fresh fruit. Tropicana shows how even premium branding does not mean minimal processing. At this point, the pattern should be clear. These juices are not designed to reflect the fruit of a specific season or place. They are designed to hit a flavor target. They solve convenience. They solve supply. They solve price. But they do so by moving further away from the natural behavior of juice. Before moving on, pause for a moment and think about your own fridge. If the juice you buy tastes identical all year, if it lasts weeks without change, if it never separates or shifts in flavor, you are likely looking at a product shaped by these same rules. In the next part, we will continue with more products, including juice drinks and apple juice, and show how the same framework applies even when the fruit changes. In the previous section, you saw how orange juice is processed to become stable and consistent. Now we move into a different category, where the line between juice and flavored drink becomes less clear. Not because these products are more dishonest, but because the way they are presented often leads to confusion. Let's start with a product whose label is actually very honest. Ocean Spray Cranberry Juice Cocktail. The word cocktail is not decoration. It is a technical description. Pure cranberry juice is extremely tart and bitter. Most people would not drink it without dilution or sweetening. Ocean Spray's solution is to use cranberry juice as a flavor base. The rest of the bottle is water, sweetener, and sometimes other fruit juices to balance taste. The actual cranberry juice content is relatively low. Most of the volume comes from water and sugar. This product is not hiding that fact. It does not claim to be 100% juice. The issue is perception. The packaging shows fresh cranberries. The messaging emphasizes cranberry health associations. Over time, this creates a health halo. As a result, many people consume this product believing they are drinking juice for health benefits. In reality, they are drinking a sweetened beverage where cranberry provides flavor and identity. This fits directly into Rule 3. Convenience and drinkability replace the natural behavior of the fruit. Now let's move to another familiar product. Mott's Apple Juice. For many people, clear, sweet apple juice feels normal. That expectation did not happen naturally. It was shaped by processing. The process begins with real apples. They are pressed, which is legitimate. Then the juice is aggressively filtered. Pulp is removed. Sediment is removed. Anything that could cause change over time is stripped out. The result is a clear, stable liquid that looks appealing and behaves predictably. But real apple juice is naturally cloudy. That cloudiness comes from suspended apple solids that carry flavor and texture. When those solids are removed, much of the character of the fruit is removed as well. Mott's clearly demonstrates Rule 2. The flavor does not reflect a specific harvest or season. It reflects a target profile achieved by blending apples from different regions and different years. Some versions of Mott's are also made from concentrate. Water is removed. The juice is stored. Then water is added back later. At that point, apple juice follows the same path as concentrated orange juice. It is taken apart, stored, and rebuilt. The low price is not an accident. Apples are inexpensive. Heavy filtration creates stability. Large-scale production reduces cost. You are not paying for seasonal fruit behavior. You are paying for industrial efficiency. Pause for a moment and check your own expectations. If a juice is always clear, never separates, never changes flavor, and lasts weeks without visible change, it has likely been processed to stop behaving like fruit. That does not mean it should never be consumed. It means it should be understood. In the next section, we will enter the gray zone. Products that sound better, look healthier, feel closer to real food, but still make compromises to survive distribution and storage. Up to this point, we have focused on products that are clearly engineered for long shelf life and consistency. Now we move into a category that feels different. These products look healthier. They sound closer to real food. And in some ways, they actually are. This is the gray zone. Not bad, not fake, but not fresh in the way many people imagine. Let's start with a product that sits right at the boundary between juice and smoothie. Naked Juice. Naked Juice is made from real fruit. That already places it ahead of many traditional bottled juices. The thickness comes from fruit purees. Whole fruits are blended into a drinkable form, not just filtered liquid. This gives the impression of a fresh smoothie, but the reality is more complicated. To survive national distribution, Naked Juice must be pasteurized. That means heating the product to kill bacteria and extend shelf life. Heat changes things. Enzymes are damaged. Some heat-sensitive vitamins decline. Flavor shifts from fresh to cooked. What you are drinking is real fruit, but it has been heavily processed to behave like a packaged product. This is important to understand. Naked Juice is not pretending to be soda, but it is also not the same as a smoothie made in your kitchen. The price reflects positioning, not freshness. You are paying for convenience, thickness, and health signaling. This is better than reassembled juice, but it is still far from fresh fruit. Now let's look at a brand that feels even more premium. Bolthouse Farms. Bolthouse Farms emphasizes nutrition, vegetables, fruit blends, refrigerated placement. The ingredients are real. The sourcing is generally solid, but once again, shelf life dictates behavior. Bolthouse products are aggressively pasteurized. This ensures safety and stability across distribution. The refrigeration creates an association with freshness, but refrigeration alone does not equal freshness. If a product lasts weeks without change, something has been done to it. Bolthouse Farms sits firmly in the gray zone. Better ingredients, but industrial processing. It is closer to food than soda, but still far from juice made today and consumed tomorrow. Now let's examine what many people consider the best option in the grocery store. Evolution Fresh. Evolution Fresh markets itself as cold-pressed and minimally processed. Cold pressing is real. It uses hydraulic pressure instead of high-speed blades. That reduces heat and preserves more nutrients during extraction. This is a legitimate improvement. However, Evolution Fresh still uses high-pressure processing, also known as HPP. HPP applies extreme pressure to kill bacteria without heat. This extends shelf life while preserving more flavor than heat pasteurization. It is a better method, but it is still a method designed for stability. Evolution Fresh typically lasts 30 to 45 days. That is far shorter than shelf-stable juice, but far longer than real fresh juice. This places it at the top of the bottled category. Better processing, better ingredients, better outcome, but still not fresh in the true sense. At a higher price point, you are paying for improved technology and handling, not for juice that is alive and changing. Here is the key takeaway from this section. These products are not pretending. They are not misleading in the way some marketing suggests, but the words better and healthier often get confused with fresh. Processing exists on a spectrum, and these products simply sit further along that spectrum. They solve real problems: safety, convenience, availability. They just do not behave like freshly pressed fruit. Understanding that difference is what gives you control. In the final section, we will look at what real juice actually looks like, how it behaves, why it spoils quickly, and why those flaws are exactly what make it real. After everything you have seen, it helps to reset expectations. Real juice is not perfect. It is not stable. It does not behave politely. And that is the point. Real juice is simply fruit that has been pressed and turned into liquid. Nothing more. When fruit is pressed, the juice begins changing immediately. It separates. Pulp settles. Flavor shifts as air touches it. Natural fermentation slowly begins. These changes are not defects. They are signs of life. Freshly squeezed juice, whether made at a store or at home, usually lasts only 3 to 5 days. Sometimes less. It tastes different from one batch to the next. Winter oranges taste different from summer oranges. Apples from one region taste different from apples grown somewhere else. This variability is what juice is supposed to do. When you see juice made fresh in store, pressed the same day or the day before, you are seeing juice that has not been forced into stability. There is no long storage, no flavor rebuilding, no need for perfect consistency. The short shelf life is the proof. Cold-pressed juice bars operate the same way. They press small batches. They sell quickly. The juice separates in the bottle. If you shake it, it comes back together. If you leave it too long, it spoils. That behavior tells you everything. And the gold standard is still the simplest option. Juicing at home. When you juice fruit yourself, there is no mystery. You see the fruit. You press it. You drink it. The juice tastes exactly like the fruit you used, because it is the fruit you used. If the fruit is sweet, the juice is sweet. If it is tart, the juice is tart. There is no blending to hit a flavor target, no engineering to satisfy a supply chain. The juice separates quickly. It darkens slightly as it oxidizes. It loses freshness within hours, not weeks. This is normal. And this leads to the one universal rule you can use anywhere. If a juice has been stripped, stored, and rebuilt, it no longer behaves like real juice. That does not automatically make it bad. It makes it a different product. Convenience always changes food. The longer a juice lasts, the more consistent it tastes, the more controlled it looks, the further it is likely moved from fresh fruit. Once you understand that, the juice aisle becomes much simpler. You stop looking for perfect labels. You stop chasing marketing language. You start paying attention to behavior. How long does it last? Does it separate? Does it change? Those signals matter more than claims. You do not need to switch everything overnight. Small changes are enough. Maybe fresh juice becomes a weekend habit instead of a daily one. Maybe bottled juice becomes an occasional convenience, not a health ritual. The goal is not purity. It is awareness. Because when you understand how something is made, you get to decide when it makes sense for you. That is what consumer awareness really is. If you want more breakdowns like this, focused on everyday foods and shopping habits, you can subscribe and stay with the channel. And if there is a product in your fridge that you want examined next, leave a comment. Until then, keep your standards realistic, your choices informed, and your expectations aligned with how food actually behaves.